famous ufologist.
For the people that don't know, can you just tell the people his story?
Well, Timothy Good is he actually is a very famous part of an orchestra. He's worked for the Royal Philharmonic. Yeah. He's like a session musician for orchestras all around the world. Yeah. But in about he's been researching UFOs for the last 50 years. I think he's now in his early 70s. And basically he's written 12 books on the subject, including, in UFO terms, probably 2 or 3 of the very best books ever written in Britain, which are like Above Top Secret, Beyond Top Secret, Need to Know, and he's just got a new book out now. So he's somebody who has met with senators, Congress people. He was the first person after the fall of the Soviet Empire to go into Russia to look at their UFO secrets. This guy's knows so many people. He's done an amazing amount of work. And coincidentally, at the first UFO Truth Magazine conference, in light of that dedication to the subject over 50 years, the magazine gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award,
that's wonderful.
Which took him back a bit, almost brought it to his eye, but it was well deserved. He's a legend in the.
I've watched his YouTube videos many times.
He's very much a gentleman. He talks very posh as compared
to someone described him once.
He's a gentleman, but he's done amazing work, and 12 books is an amazing legacy so far, and how many in the future, who knows.
So the last lecture that you put on, it was a few weeks ago, wasn't it?
That was the conference. That was November the 16th. The magazine, as I say, launched with the first issue at the end of June, and then I decided to have a magazine conference, which was, I guess, a bit of a risk, but it was sold out within a fortnight. I deliberately chose a smaller venue because I figured I'd rather have it full than have a big venue half full. So it's that kind of half empty, half full kind of concept. But it was full to the rafters, and everybody had a great time. The good news from that is that I think on the strength of that, and as the magazine steadily grows, that next year I've already booked for a 2-day conference. So it'll be a Saturday and Sunday, and it'll be, I think, August 16th and 17th next year. This will be a slightly bigger venue in Holmfirth, last of the small country where I live. Beautiful little town up in the hills.
You're still in Yorkshire there, aren't you?
I moved to Holmfirth when I moved in with my now wife 2.5 years ago, and Holmfirth is a beautiful little town in West Yorkshire. So I'm very lucky.
Oh, lovely.
So things are working out well. I've got a few things lined up in the new year, in the sense of I'm going to New Zealand at 30th December to visit my wife's brother. But whilst we're out there, and because we're relatively close, I'm flying out to Australia to do 3 lectures there, and then I come back, and I think I've got lectures in San Marino, and then in Belfast at a conference. So then one in London. So it's very busy. So
because we don't seem to have anything in Manchester. No.
I do remember attending a conference there about. I think it was ParaQuest. Did a conference there. Did about 5 or 6 years ago. Near Manchester Town Hall, I think it was city centre. But one of the ideas of the magazine was that I wanted to try to do something different, in the sense of I'm not in it for the money. People, I think, believe that there's money in the subject, but believe me, there isn't. No. There might be for 1 or 2, but I've certainly never seen it. So it's there for the dedication, and I want to try and make a difference. And so what I said in the mission statement of the magazine, which I think is different from any other publication, printed or otherwise, is that a third of all monies that's that comes in through yearly subscriptions is set aside and ring-fenced for UFO causes. So that's, in a sense, I'm giving a third away in the profits for the subject. And this creates the funding mechanism for conferences in the UK. And as we get bigger, hopefully then we can do a road show to go around the UK and start building it up. Do you see what I mean? A third of all money's coming in. As the magazine grows, that pot will get bigger. Yeah. So therefore, it will allow me to start doing road shows and going around the country. I've just, for the first conference, laid out about £2,000 on equipment. Well, you're going to have to buy it at some point, so I thought, well, I'll buy it first off. But that'll stand me in good stead probably for the next 5 years or so. Yeah. So, in a sense, once you've got it, it's free after that. Yeah. So, for the next few years, we're all set up to do road shows with banners, posters, audio equipment, microphones, things like that. So, screens, big projector screens. So, all those kind of things are now in place. So, really, it's just time and logistics, and hopefully getting the word out via shows like yourself, being given the opportunity to let people know that there is such a magazine out there.
What can you tell me about Stanton Friedman?
I've met Stanton Friedman 3 times in the last 12 years of my research. Arguably the greatest living ufologist, in my opinion. Absolutely gentleman. But, for people who don't know much about ufology and the way the media portrays the subject, then we're all Looney Tunes. But I was a detective for nigh on 20 years, police officer 24 years, so hopefully I'm not a Looney Tune. Stanton Friedman is actually a physicist who worked for NASA on the early Gemini space program, worked for Westinghouse and things like this. He's a physicist, and he became convinced. He became convinced in the 1970s that a lot of UFO best evidence was being suppressed through the media to the public. So he began to speak out on it, and he's now lectured in probably 20, 30 other countries, and has written many books. So he's an eminent person in his own right. And there are many, many other people similar to him. This is not the people I kind of deal with. Is the scientific end, the high credibility witnesses, the pilots and things like that. So,
you must have watched Alex Collier.
Well, I've seen him. Yeah, I've seen him, but I've never met him.
No, but you've seen his YouTube, videos.
Oh yeah.
So what do you make of his story?
Well, because I've not met him, I would reserve judgment on that. Because I come from an evidential point of view, I don't accept evidence readily. A case in point is I was recently sent some footage of what on the face of it looked like great UFO footage of a mysterious object over Bramley and Leeds, and it was bizarre movements, whatever, and it was done at night from Bramley Station, but I wanted to kind of get to the bottom of it and see what other possibilities there were. So I basically put a press release out to the press, and the Yorkshire Evening Post picked it up and put it out and put the video out. Long story short is basically somebody said, I was flying a remote control. So one of the key things here is, from my police background, is you get people claiming responsibility, but they're actually not responsible. So the only way you can do that is to verify it. So last night I was out in Leeds from the field where he was flying his remote control object, plane that had all these LED lights on. And
why would he be doing that in the first place?
Well, no,
just to be doing it, it's like he'd want somebody to think it was a UFO.
To be fair, it was very impressive in the field where he was, but he had no idea that this woman 2 miles away, a mile and a half away, at Bramley Station, had seen it. So I arranged for her to be at the station, same conditions. Right, it's up in the air. Can you see it? Yes, film it. And it's all identical. So it turns out that that's got a mundane explanation. But the key point there is that to be thorough, which probably a lot of people aren't, You don't just accept it when somebody says, "Oh, I actually did that." Well, how do you prove to me that you did that? We should be verifying things, and I think that comes from my detective background. That it was verified.
But a lot of the times, it's going to be hard, isn't it, to verify it? I mean, I've seen lights in the sky,
but we did prove on that. That was a great example of cooperation, and I thank the person that come forward and said it's mine. But you checked it out, and sure enough, you did it, and it's bottomed because it did look very mysterious footage, and it's quite clear that remote control craft now, these for a couple of £100, this guy was flying his glider up to 4-6 kilometres with an attached camera in daylight, and it was getting brilliant on footage.
Yeah.
Like in the sense we see in films now where they're flying the remote drones from thousands of miles away. Well, he's got his headset on. He's basically doing the same in the daytime up to only 4 to 6 kilometres, but it's the same idea. He's viewing it in real time, and it was impressive to see. So, it's not my cup of tea, but it was certainly interesting to see firsthand.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I just don't get why he's flying it at night. He obviously wants people to think it's...
He doesn't very often, but when he's put the LED strips on, one wing was blue, one wing was red, and the main body of it was white. And it does look... It's kind of a neon in the sky, and it does look impressive. But I don't think what he realised is that even though it's a relatively small glider, perhaps 4 feet in length, once the LED is up in the air and it's flying around, the cameras that are on mobile phones just detect the light, and the light is amplified, so it actually looks much bigger than it actually is. But it was a case in point about how people can be deceived.
Yeah.
So that was a good exercise as to prove what it was, and that was good. But
I know, because I sit reading them out, and I don't know. I'm just reading what someone's written on a UFO site. I don't know whether it's real or it's not. I just hope.
Well,
I'm going to hope.
Well, you see what I mean? You've got to put things into categories. Now, if a pilot, and I'm drawn towards pilot reports because the millions of pounds spent on
there's a lot of pilots reports, isn't there?
Yeah, there's about 2,000 military pilots.
There's a brilliant one in the Isle of Man. The Isle of Man.
Oh, yeah, the Channel Islands one, the Red Boyer, was a brilliant one. And that was confirmed by another plane crossing from the other direction who saw the same object, which was described as being, two objects described as being about a mile long, like yellow lozenges.
What made me laugh was that the government said, "Oh no, it's near France. You're near France, nothing to do with us. It's near France."
Well, you talk about the government and the Ministry of Defence. The MOD will say for the last 50, 60 years, ever since UFOs became prominent from the late 40s onwards, that there's been no case ever reported that's been of defence significance. That's their standard phrase. Well, it's an absolutely joke phrase for them to use, and is untenable and can be actually proved to be untenable. Yeah. Because, for example, if a pilot is sent up to intercept a stationary object in the sky in broad daylight, and then he's ordered to fire his rockets at the UFO, then you would think that should be on the news, but it's not. So how can they not say that? And that's a proven case that happened in 1957, and involving a Super Sabre, an American pilot over Ipswich. But I mean, you may have heard of the famous Rendlesham Forest case in December 1980.
What was his name? Sure,
Colonel Charles Holt is the guy who wrote what's called the Holt Memorandum. But basically, over 3 successive nights, December 26th to the 28th, multiple UFOs were seen at or near 2 bases, RAF Bentwaters, RAF Woodbridge in Suffolk.
Is it the one where they turned them on? They turned the silos on, or did they turn them off?
No, you're thinking of the Maelstrom incident from 1967. Captain Robert Salas, where UFO was hovering above a missile silo and turned 10 nuclear weapons off. That happened in America. But the British one which is now regarded as one of the best cases in the world.